The Glizzy Fainter. Chapter 1. A Life Constrained. Johnston had lived 32 years with a secret that shaped every decision he made, while other people worried about normal things, traffic, deadlines, whether they left the stove on. Johnston's daily anxiety centered around a single, seemingly innocent food item: hot dogs. The condition had no medical name that he knew of. No doctor had ever taken him seriously when he tried to explain it as a child. Psychosomatic, they'd say, or you'll grow out of it. But Johnston never grew out of it. If anything, the fainting spells had become more severe with age. The smell of hot dogs, that distinctive mixture of processed meat, nitrates, and whatever else they stuffed into those casings, would hit his nervous system like a sledgehammer. Within seconds, his vision would blur, his knees would buckle, and consciousness would slip away like water through his fingers. It had cost him dearly over the years. Amusement parks were off limits. The hot dog stands were everywhere. Movie theaters remained a gamble he rarely took. Baseball games, food courts, street festivals, all potential minefields in Johnston's carefully constructed world. He still remembered the crushing disappointment of third grade when Mrs. Henderson announced the class field trip to the New York Museum of Natural History. Johnston had been desperate to see the dinosaur exhibits, had dreamed about them for weeks, but his mother, understanding the risks all too well, had quietly spoken to the teacher. "There are hot dog vendors all around the museum," she'd explained. "Johnston can't go." The other kids never understood why he'd stayed behind that day. Neither did most of his teachers. It was easier to let them think he was sick than to explain the truth. Chapter 2. The Incident. Now, as an adult, Johnston had become a master of avoidance. He'd mapped out hot dog-free routes to work, researched restaurants obsessively before dining out, and always carried a small bottle of peppermint oil to overwhelm his sense of smell in emergencies. But even the best-laid plans couldn't account for random encounters. It was a Tuesday morning, crisp and clear, when Johnston's carefully ordered world collapsed. He was cycling to the community college where he taught introductory accounting, following his usual route that avoided the downtown area with its lunch trucks. The red light at Maple and Third should have been routine, a brief stop before continuing on his way. That's when he saw the teenager on the sidewalk. The kid was probably 16 or 17, backpack slung over one shoulder, casually eating what looked like a foot-long hot dog loaded with mustard and onions. Johnston's brain registered the threat a split second before his nose caught the scent carried by the morning breeze. The familiar sensation hit him like a freight train. His vision tunneled, his hands went numb on the handlebars, and Johnston crashed to the asphalt in a heap of twisted metal and limbs. Chapter 3. The Discovery. "Yo, dude, you okay?" Johnston's consciousness returned slowly, like surfacing from deep water. He was lying on his back, his bicycle's front wheel spinning lazily beside him. A concerned face hovered above him, the same teenager, now crouched down with worry creasing his features. "I think you hit your head or something, man. Should I call 911? The smell hit Johnston again before he could respond. Hot dog breath, warm and meaty, washing over him as the teenager leaned closer. Johnston's eyes rolled back, and darkness claimed him once more. When he came to the second time, the teenager had backed away, a puzzled expression replacing his concern. "Dude, that's weird. You just passed out again for no reason." Johnston struggled to sit up, his head spinning. He knew he had to explain before it happened a third time. I faint when I smell hot dogs," he gasped out, the words tumbling over each other in his haste to get them out. "It's a medical thing. I can't help it." The teenager's eyebrows shot up. A slow grin spread across his face. Not cruel exactly, but definitely amused. "No way, that's like the weirdest thing I've ever heard." He took another bite of his hot dog, seemingly oblivious to Johnston's distress. "Hot dogs? Really?" Chapter 4. Going viral. Johnston should have known that would be the end of it. In his naive optimism, he'd hoped the teenager would simply go about his day, maybe tell a friend or two about the strange encounter. What he hadn't counted on was the teenager's entrepreneurial spirit, or his complete lack of empathy. It started small. A hot dog left on Johnston's front porch. then another. When those didn't yield immediate results, the attacks escalated. Hot dog water splashed across his lawn and front steps. The smell would linger for days, trapping Johnston inside his own home. But the worst part wasn't the harassment itself. It was discovering that every episode was being filmed. Glizzy Fainter goes down hard. Must watch, read the YouTube title that a concerned neighbor eventually showed him. The video had 50,000 views. The comments were even worse than the title. This dude's definitely faking it for attention. Natural selection at work, lol. Imagine being scared of a hot dog. Johnston watched in horror as his most vulnerable moments were turned into entertainment for strangers. There he was, collapsing on his front lawn, convulsing slightly as his nervous system betrayed him over and over again. The teenagers, because it was clearly a group effort now, had become remarkably skilled at staying just out of frame while documenting his suffering. Chapter 5. The Training. After 3 weeks of daily torment in a video catalog that had earned the teenagers several $1,000s in ad revenue, Johnston reached his breaking point. But instead of calling the police, what would he say? "Officer, these kids keep putting hot dogs on my property?" Or moving away, he couldn't afford to. Johnston made a decision that surprised even himself. He was going to fix this, all of it. The preparation took 2 days. Johnston cleared out his spare bedroom, sealed the windows with plastic sheeting, and set up a small fan for ventilation. Then came the hard part, acquiring the ammunition. He bought them from 6 different grocery stores in small quantities, paying cash. Hebrew National, Ballpark, Oscar Mayer, store brands. Johnston assembled an arsenal of encased meats that would have made a baseball stadium vendor proud. He arranged them carefully around the room, some in open packages on plates, others cooking in a small electric grill, a few floating in warm water to maximize the olfactory assault. When Johnston stepped into that room for the first time, the concentrated smell hit him like a physical wall. He lasted perhaps 3 seconds before his knees gave out, but he got back up. Again and again, Johnston forced himself back into that room. Each time he'd last a little longer. 5 seconds, then 10, then 30. The fainting spells continued, but something else began to happen too. His brain, desperate to protect itself, started building new neural pathways around the trauma response. It was exposure therapy of the most extreme kind, and after 2 weeks of daily sessions, something remarkable happened. Johnston walked into the hot dog room and stayed conscious for a full minute. Chapter 6. The Reversal. The teenagers had developed a routine. Every Tuesday and Friday, like clockwork, they'd arrive at Johnston's house around 4 p.m. with fresh hot dogs and filming equipment. They'd gotten bolder too, venturing onto his property to place the hot dogs closer to his front door for maximum impact, which is exactly what they were doing when Johnston sprang his trap. "Yo, Glizzy Fainter! We got some premium dogs for you today," shouted the original teenager, who Johnston had learned was named Kyle, as he approached the front porch with his usual crew of 3 accomplices. The front door exploded open. Johnston stood in the doorway like an avenging angel, holding what appeared to be a massive rifle modified with some kind of cylindrical attachment. For a split second, Kyle's brain processed the worst possible scenario. Then Johnston pulled the trigger. Thunk, 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 thunk. Hot dogs came flying out of the contraption's barrel like meaty missiles, each one a perfect projectile aimed at the retreating teenagers. Johnston had spent considerable time and money modifying a paintball gun to accommodate hot dog ammunition, and the results exceeded his wildest expectations. "Run! Run! He's got a gun!" Kyle screamed, apparently not registering that the bullets were bouncing harmlessly off their backs. "That's right," Johnston shouted, advancing across his lawn while continuing to fire. "How do you like it? How do you like the smell?" The teenagers fled like their lives depended on it, Kyle's expensive camera equipment abandoned in the retreat. Johnston calmly walked over, picked up the still recording camera, and turned it toward his own face. "Hey, Internet," he said with a grin. "Meet the Glizzy teenagers." Epilogue. The video went viral within hours. Hot Dog Man gets revenge on bullying teens. garnered over 2 million views in its first week. The comments section was decidedly different this time. This is the most satisfying video I've ever watched. Dude turned his weakness into his weapon. Respect. Kyle and his boys got served harder than a ballpark Frank. Johnston never saw Kyle or his friends again. The harassment stopped completely, and the original Glizzy Fainter videos were quietly taken down, presumably out of embarrassment rather than any legal threat. As for Johnston, he still carried peppermint oil, still avoided baseball games, and still felt his heart rate spike whenever he caught an unexpected whiff of processed meat. But he also kept the modified paintball gun in his garage just in case.